Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the novel White Teeth by Zadie Smith. So I had already written a research paper or summary kind of thing. So I'm going to read from that. And if you want that, I can also share it with you. Okay. So I'll start reading it. White Teeth by Zadie Smith is a novel of epic proportions with a large number of characters with personal and family histories. The writing style of Smith is fresh and full of funny coinages and puns. The play on the language is remarkable, with words which are multi ethnic and multicultural, like the characters in the novel. Smith's novel follows a nicely worked out pattern. In the beginning, the characters and the plot lines are running in their own worlds, where London acts as a common stage. The way she has structured the novel in various sections, for example, Samad as in 1984 and 1857, and for example, Chauvinism versus Bowdenism tells a great deal about her vision and its translation into reality. These carefully developed plot lines converge towards the end of the novel at the future mouse display. Race, ethnicity, and culture. Race, ethnicity, and culture play important factors in the lives of all the characters in the novel. The quality of life people spend in London depends a great deal on a person's race and ethnicity. In spite of his good education and his service in the English army, Samad Iqbal could never secure a decent job for himself in the city. He continues with the job as a waiter to the end of the novel. He is often ridiculed as a Paki, though he is from Bangladesh, which shows that people do not bother to know and correct themselves on the matters concerning developing countries. White people have special hatred for people from Asian countries. Muhammad, who is famously known as Mo, the butcher, is the person who has suffered the most because of his Pakistani roots. He's tortured by the white kids, teenagers, and adults. His body carries the marks of racial violence. His his arms are broken, his fingers are chopped off, his legs are broken, and his feet were set on fire. His shop is looted many times over a long period of time. In fact, his shop is looted 3 times every year. This unstoppable violence against him becomes a reason for him joining the cabin. It's a kind of fundamentalist organization comprising mostly of Muslim men living in London. Samad and Alsana came to London to make some quick money and go back to their country. But it is the dilemma of every immigrant. Once you go to another country to earn money, you are hardly able to go back. He's always trying to save the Bangla culture in his family. Living in a foreign country, he expects his sons to steer clear from the effects of foreign culture, even though he himself is at fault most of the times. He even had a short term affair with the school teacher of his sons, Poppy Burt Jones. He breaks up with her because he's tormented by his conscience. For him, following his religion has always been his priority, but he fails at it many times throughout the novel. He drinks wine and indulges in sexual activities in the pious month of Ramadan. He has created some mantras or other phrases like for purer, everything is purer, can't say fairer than that, from conflicting his consciousness. To keep his sons from getting corrupted by the English culture, he decides to send them back home. But he can't afford to send both his sons. After a hard mental struggle, he decided to send Magit to Bangladesh so that he becomes a proper Muslim in the home culture in Bangladesh. Now let's come to history. History is present more as a character in this novel. It is almost palpable. In fact, the novel is a history of 3 generations of 3 different families from 3 different countries. J.D. Smith has tried to work out a relationship between the colonial and post colonial history of India and Jamaica. The history of Mangal Pandey is the only chance for Samad Iqbal to have some recognition. We are not even sure whether Mangal Pandey is truly the great grandfather of Samad Iqbal. Throughout the novel, Samad Iqbal and Archibald keep discussing the history and fate of Mangal Pandey. Samad Iqbal represents the Indian history of Mangal Pandey, who is seen as a hero who started the war against the English colonizers. According to Iqbal, the death of Mangal Pandey started the zeal for independence in the people of India. Archibald, on the other hand, present the English version of events, which degrade the character of Mangal Pandey as a stoned spy who could not even take a clear aim. The English version sees him as a person who caused the meaningless death of thousands of Indians and even Englishmen. Archibald teases him with the three dictionary definitions of English word Pandey. First, any spy who revolted in the Indian Mutiny of 1857 to 1859. Any mutiner or traitor. Third, any fool or coward in a military situation. Samad disqualifies these definitions as the misrepresentation of true character of great Mangal Pandey. The colonial history of Jamaica is told through the family history of Bowdens. The affair between Captain Durham and Ambrosia, Hartney's mother, acts as an analogy for the treatment of the British of their former colonies. They have always had this burden of taking care of the well of their subjects, being of their subjects the burden of a white man. Captain Durham exploits the young girl on the pretense of her education. He leaves her when he finds out that she is pregnant. At one point, Zadie Smith writes, "Oh, he loves her just as the English loved India and Africa and Ireland. It is the love that is the problem. People treat their lovers badly." Identity. In a multicultural and multi-ethnic city like London, fight for the identity becomes a day-to-day phenomenon. Every character in the novel is trying to establish his identity in her own way. The characters in the novel constantly keep asking themselves these questions: Who are we? Why are we here? Samad Iqbal tries to establish his identity as the progeny of the great freedom fighter of India, Mangal Pandey. In spite of his high ambitions, he is not able to achieve anything worthwhile in his life. He has high expectations from his twin sons, to turn out to be proper Muslims. Alsana Begum is worried about retaining her Bengali identity, the Bengaliness. She is worried about the racial identity of her grandchildren, who would be hybrid children. She wonders what her grandchildren would look like if Millet names marries some white girl, and what if her grandchildren marries people from other races. Millet and Magid, who were born in London, try to create their own identity by associating themselves with the English culture in their childhood. Magid, who was sent back to Bangladesh, comes back as an atheist and more English than the true English, with his Queen's English. Millet, who, due to his 2 minutes delay in birth, considers himself a loser. He is the irredeemable son, according to his parents and Irie Jones. To gain a sense of identity, he joins Cabin because he always wanted to be part of a clan that is at war with other clans. Archibald's only shot at posterity was his participation in the Olympics of 1948 as a cyclist, in which he shared the 13th position with a Swedish gynecologist, was erased due to the carelessness of the woman who was maintaining the records of that game. His second heroic act that is the participation in the Second World War, which could have provided him with a better position in a workplace, is seen as unworthy experiences without any practical use. Archibald's job of bending the papers provides him nothing with which he can associate himself as a person. Clara Bowden, Jones, was running from her original identity as a Jehovah's Witness because her mother tries to control aspects of her life. She was searching for a savior who could take her away from this situation. Her decision to marry Archibald was a desperate attempt to move away from her life. Otherwise, Archibald was never a good match for a girl who was beautiful and just 19 years old. Irie Jones, who has the features of a mulatto, has many difficulties before she can finally accept her true identity. Irie thinks she had been dealt the dodgy cards, mountainous curves, buck teeth, and thick metal retainers, impossible afro hair, and to top it off, maulish eyesight, which in turn required bottle top spectacles in a light shade of pink. First, first she tries to associate herself with the Dark Lady of Shakespeare's sonnets. She even asks her school teacher, Oliver Rudy, whether the Dark Lady of the sonnets is black. She really gets upset when she comes to know that the Dark Lady is not black like her. Irie Jones tries to treat her hair to be smooth and flowing like other people in England. She even buys the hair of some Indian girl who sells her hair to make some money. She tears those foreign hair from her original hair, and then she learns from other people that her original hairs were better and gave her an identity. Her grandmother plays an important role for Irie to accept her root and heritage. The Chaffin family has its unique way of showing or even bragging their identity. They are very proud of Chalfan intellect and Chalfan liberalism. In fact, they devise nouns, adjectives, and verbs like Chauvinism, Chauvinist, and Chauvining. They like to keep a clear record of their family history without any uncertainty. Hortense, who has Jamaican roots, is also trying to assert her identity as a follower of Lambert's Jehovah's Witness. She tries to convert any person who she meets to be the witness of Jehovah. As she moves towards her 90s, her religion and commitment to this cause is the only thing that keeps her moving. Now let's come to center versus periphery. The struggle for the immigrants is hard and exists in the affairs of day-to-day life. Immigrants find it difficult to live in the places with large population of white people. White people torture them constantly, call them names, and damage their property. Jones and Iqbal families live in Willesden, the only place in London that is comparatively safe for people from different cultures and nations. Willesden has the highest population of other white or non-white population. On the periphery of such multicultural place emerge many small and large political units which are trying to move to the center and make their voices heard. Fate, which stands for Fighting Animal Torture and Exploitation, tries to fight the violence against all sorts of animals. Ironically, in their early years, they themselves resort to violent acts to fight the violence against animals. Kevin is another organization of Muslim fundamentalists who claim to fight for the injustices against their people. For example, Muhammad or Mo early in the novel. Themes. Now let's come to themes in the novel. Okay, the first is legacy. Legacy is one of the important themes in the novel, where characters are trying to discover the seeds of greatness in their blood. For example, Samad is the legacy hunter by birth. Since his childhood days, he is trying to prove the world that Mangal Pandey was his great grandfather. Chalfan family is the only family that is able to carry on their family legacy. Chance versus coincidence. Or coincidence becomes important theme due to the way Archie takes decisions in his life. Right from the beginning of the novel, Archie is unable to make important decisions in his life. He lets a coin decide his future, be it taking his own life or killing someone else. He always lets a coin decide for himself. Parenting. Parenting plays a crucial role in the lives of characters of the young generation in the novel. In the Iqbal and Jones families, parenting is not so healthy, where emotions come in the way of logic. Children in both these families are not allowed to speak freely or express their views. In contrast to Jones and Iqbal families, Charlton family pays special attention to parenting. They allow healthy discussions in the house. On the one hand, parents in the Charlton family encourage display of affection. On the other hand, equal parents would rather fight in front of the kids. Fundamentalism. In the novel, racism affects the lives of many migrants. It becomes a major factor for the migrants to turn towards religious fundamentalism. Fundamentalism is present through the activities of three institutions: Kevin, Fate, and Jehovah's Witnesses. Now let's comes to the title. What does it signify? The title of the novel is very precise and important, keeping in mind the large scope and canvas of the novel. There are people from almost every ethnicity and culture who live in London and mix up, of course, with some conflicts with people from other cultures and ethnicities. No matter which culture or a race people belong to, they have white teeth. Therefore, teeth are the only thing which is common in every human being. Zadie Smith tries to make a strong point with this title. Teeth become the symbol of humanity which are present in every human being in their pure form. In societies with religions and culture conflicts, humanism is the way to live in a peaceful manner. There are, there are many references to tea throughout the novel. Now, J.D. Smith, by bringing the ensemble of characters to London, tries to explore various aspects of the city that has colonial roots. The fact that all the characters have roots outside Britain highlights the post-colonial situation where people have hybrid identities. In the novel, Smith explores the roots and the effects of the hybrid and identities on people. I hope you liked the discussion. And there were some mispronunciations or misreadings throughout the paper. Kindly ignore that. And if you do want this copy of the paper, then you can email me. I will send it to you. Thank you for watching and keep liking and subscribing to the channel.